Okay, to completely answer this question, I got to talk about a lot of stuff, and I don't have a lot of time to do it. So buckle up. Here we go. Okay, so the entire root of this conflict starts all the way back in 1820 when Missouri is applying for statehood. Missouri wants to be entered as a slave state, and the rest of the states don't want to add that as a slave state because, slavery bad. So anyways, Maine decides they're going to enter in as a free state. Missouri decides they're going to enter as a slave state, and we enter into something called the Missouri Compromise. Missouri Compromise states that any new states that are added to the Union out of the Louisiana Purchase that go above 3630, which is this line of parallel, will not allow slavery in them. And that's going to be the rule of the land up until the 1850s. After the 1850s, this guy comes along. His name's Stephen Douglas. He's called a noisome, squat, fat little man, and he is an expansionist, and he wants to create an intercontinental railroad that's going to go all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast in order for this area to be expanded to make Manifest Destiny happen. So the problem Douglas was into is all these southern states here don't want to add new states up here because these new states up here won't have slavery, and eventually those states will balance out, and that means South won't have slavery anymore. So Douglas comes up with something he calls the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which organizes both the Kansas-Nebraska territory and allows for a concept he calls popular sovereignty, where people will be able to go in and vote and decide if they want slavery or not. So that's going to result in a bunch of people moving into Kansas for the express purpose of Kansas being a free state. Because Missouri is on its border, Missouri has slaves, Kansas does not want to have slaves, and you got a whole bunch of people from the north, like the New England Immigrant Aid Society, are going to send people to Kansas in order for Kansas to enter into the Union as a free state. Well, there's a group of people in Missouri led by this guy, David Rice Atchison, who do not like that idea. They do not want Kansas to be a free state because they're afraid of Kansas as a free state. Missouri's slaves are going to go escape into Kansas, and Missouri won't have slaves anymore. So a bunch of people from Missouri, who are at this time called border ruffians, decided they're going to go over to Kansas, interfere in Kansas elections, and they're going to create what's known as the bogus legislature. In the meantime, Lawrence, which is the capital of the free state of Kansas, decides that they are going to speak out against slavery, and the sheriff of Douglas County decides he's going to surround the town, and this creates an incident called the Wakarusa War, where parts of Lawrence are under siege, and it's just not a good thing, and it makes national headlines, and people get mad. One person in particular gets really mad. His name's John Brown. That guy. He decides that the slave owners need to figure out that we people have rights too, and he decides to go to Pottawatomie Creek and cut the heads off a bunch of Southern sympathizers. So after that, you have this whole big debate over slavery with whether or not Kansas is going to have slavery. Eventually, a constitution gets passed in Kansas that allows Kansas to have slavery, and while all this is going on, John Brown makes his way to Harper's Ferry, tries to have a slave revolt, and he is charged with treason. He is hanged, and then in 1861, Civil War starts. So when that starts, you're going to have another guy, this guy, William Quantrell. He's a piece of crap. He's going to decide to invade Lawrence and try to light it on fire in retaliation for a bunch of Jayhawk raids that come over and try to raid Missouri. So you have, across this Kansas border, let's get over here real quick, across this border, you have people going back and forth, burning towns, and just causing a whole bunch of mayhem and destruction. And then once the Civil War ends, Missouri and Kansas both get universities. Both those universities are mascots are named after Civil War units. But anyways, the people on Missouri side get called slavers because Missouri had slavery, and even though they were on the side of the Union, but because of all that stuff going back and forth from the border, it created the border war. I think that covers it. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.